yell at me if I'm not speaking to this correctly, or if you just want me to put it down and speak directly to the crowd. But you did announce I was born and raised a Republican, although in the military we don't choose sides. So I speak to you today as a local member of the 144th, and it just so happens that I am a Republican. Also, being a local member of the 144th, it's funny, when I usually meet people, and I'm still wearing my uniform after the day, two questions. Usually one is, are you from Lemoore? Or the second question is, are you here to change my car's oil? I think I work at Jiffy Lube. It's kind of funny in the sense that not a lot of people are aware that there is a fighter unit inside Fresno, and we have a joint use field with the civilian air terminal, so we share runways, but we have our own secure base. And it's funny, a lot of people just see fighters overhead and they just assume they're from Lemoore, and not a lot of people have the privilege, not a lot of people have the privilege of hearing us routinely over their house every day. Probably more of a nuisance than a privilege, but it's all for good reason. Absolutely, we try. And thank you very much for the warm welcome. Like I said in the welcome, here in Fresno, we have two hats. We have a federal hat and we have a state hat. And federally, we're a deployable fighter squadron, where we can go anywhere in the world at the command of the boss to perform air-to-air combat missions. We're an F-16 unit that specializes in air defense. So we don't drop ground munitions. We only have air-to-air munitions. So we have that as our federal mission. Here at home, we have another hat, and that's the air defense of the southwestern United States. We sit alert. I kind of dislike the analogy, but it's much like a firefighter. There's guys sleeping out there and ready to scramble at a moment's notice. I prepared a little PowerPoint. Hold on one second. This will help arrange my thoughts so we have a logical progression and I'm not rambling like I do sometimes. But also, I need you to keep me honest on time. I know you have a lot to cover, and I always ask 10-15 minutes. But also, if you have questions, yell and nod at me. If you guys have questions, it's not formal by any means. But like I said, I'm Captain Luke Campagne, and we're here from your hometown Air Force in Fresno. The next slide. What I'd like to talk about is the history of the 144th, since it's not quite common to run into people that know that we're in existence here in Fresno, and our current mission, and we'll talk about our organization and how we contribute into the local community, and then our future, because although the military isn't political by nature, we are heavily influenced by the politics that surround us and our future on Fresno soil, and follow-on missions and stuff like that. So I'll pass on some knowledge for you guys to carry on to help us out. Next slide. We date back prior to World War II. We started in San Francisco at Hayward Field under the 372nd Fighter Group, and we had P-51 Mustangs, all sorts of aircraft to our name. Go ahead, next slide. Post-World War II, it was kind of gifted to California, so we lost the full federal recognition, and then kind of recently developed the states as the guard to kind of take control and kind of help share the monetary constraints of operating a military organization. And then we were still based in Hayward Airport, California, and then we also had other aircraft that included Mustangs, T-6 Texans, and A-26 Invaders. Just kind of a full complement of different types of aircraft that each had a very unique mission. In November 1954 is when we moved to Fresno. I don't know if you guys can see the picture too well, but if you look close, You can see Clovis Avenue, and this is actually McKinley Avenue. Right there. The canal still flows, and not a lot has changed, but a lot has changed, and that hangar still stands, and that's where we operate our F-16s. So we moved here in 1954, and then we went from the P-51 Mustang to the F-86 Sabre, and then started ever since the inception of the base in Fresno. We started sitting air defense alert. And then from 1954, we've had multiple aircraft. We went from the F-86 to the F-102s to the F-106 to the F-4. I think when I was growing up, I used to always see the F-4s flying overhead. They're the ones that left the biggest black trails of smoke. You guys all probably remember. Not only did they leave a lot of noise, but they left a lot of air pollution. But and then now we have the F-16 from 1989 to today. And that's down here. And then, like I said, we've been on continuous alert ever since. And we provide alert at the home station in Fresno. There's always a couple of individuals that are fully dressed, sitting, watching, maybe occasionally watching TV, ready for the horn to go off. And then we scramble, we jump in the jet, we take off, and we go to where we're ordered to go. And then also we have an alert detachment, which is at March Air Reserve Base in Riverside, California. So between the two stations, we kind of divide the state in half, and Fresno usually has the northern missions, and then the Riverside unit has the southern missions. That is our primary mission. So 2 air defense alert sites, and we've been doing it for over 50 years. And the goal of that is just protect everything that we house here in California, Nevada, parts of Utah. The next unit to carry the burden is in Tucson, Arizona, all the way up to Portland, Oregon. So our unit houses the alert fighters to cover everything in between. And mostly assessed to protect is our major population centers, critical infrastructure. We house nuclear power plants in California. We have nuclear research facilities. Anything that any individual in the world could try and target for whatever reasons that might be. And then we have large economic centers that we're protecting, and cultural centers as well. So for any given reason, we're here to help. And missions through counter-narcotics, like was briefed, that's a fancy way of saying aircraft coming over the border, trying to traffic narcotics from Mexico, or even Canada for another unit, like the Portland unit would be tasked for. But that's I don't know the exact stat, but that's the majority of our alert scrambles is aircraft crossing the southern border. We also any aircraft in distress, let's say they have an electrical malfunction or anything of that nature and they need extra help, we'll get scrambled. Most likely that's triggered because they stop talking to the appropriate agencies and that agency no longer knows their intentions, and so they will scramble us to meet them in the air to find out what's going on. Also, anything as devastating as another hijack airliner scenario, we're always poised and postured for that scenario on the West Coast. So just like on the 11th of September in 2001, we were combat air patrols over major cities in California. Oops, that'd be the wrong word, but in case there was a scenario on the West Coast, much like on the East Coast, and that's just what we're postured to do. Next slide. I think this is kind of an interesting slide. We're illustrating the East Coast and how many air defense fighters they have. On the East Coast, there's 275 Air National Guard fighter assets, and California we have 18. And then hit the space bar again. And if you look at the coverage, that's California superimposed over the fighters. So with our 2 alert sites, we have a lot of geography to cover, but we're very proud to do so, and we do it proudly. That's kind of, this is our political bid for more money and aircraft and all the assets that we require to do our mission and do it well.
How do they justify so little amount?
I think, was that, you asked a question? To the powers that be, mostly probably the cities, also,
Are more impacted.
and then where they assess the threats to be. But between us and our other neighboring units, we cover California. But we're also trying to lobby for follow-on aircraft and more money and dollars to do that, to keep our continuous alert. But yeah, there is a lot on the East Coast, and there's a lot of government centers on the East Coast and large population centers. So it's kind of, it's like our representatives, they have to distribute over where they're needed. But in Fresno, our base is much like a small city. We have every career field you can almost imagine, all working to get the fighters in the air for our mission. And it's really impressive. We have different groups that house. The operations group is what houses the fighter squadron, and our pilots and our support personnel that support the pilots directly. And then there's the maintenance group that has all sorts of career fields that keep the jets flying. And you'd be amazed how many different occupations it takes for the aircraft. Hydraulic, electrical, pneumatic, sheet metal. Every type of system on the jet has its own career field to help maintain it. And then there's a support group. That's civil engineers working on the base itself, security forces to keep it safe, which is just police officers as well. And then the guys keeping the jet's fuel and our logistical chain running in a well-oiled manner. And then motor pool keeping all the four-wheeled assets rolling. And then we also have a medical group there that houses doctors and nurses and phlebotomists and every type of medical technician you can imagine to keep everyone healthy. Okay, next slide. That's our base. We have about approximately 960 personnel assigned. It's a small little city out there. And the Guard is unique because it is an interesting mix of different pay statuses or career statuses. Like myself, I'm an AGR, Active Guard Reserve. I'm an active duty member of the Air National Guard. So I'm on Air Force orders to be stationed and work at the California Air National Guard. Some individuals, like your stereotypical guardsmen, flying for an airline or having another civilian employment, and they come work in a part-time status, kind of the stereotypical 1 week in a month kind of deal. That's kind of where that comes from. In our line of work as a pilot, it's not just 1 week in a month. We have to fly a handful of flights a month to stay current. Usually that's about no less than 6 times a month to fly, and they're coming out and sitting alert as well. So it's almost like they have 2 full-time jobs, not 1 full-time and 1 part-time. And then we have technicians, which are a state. They wear a state hat, and they're on a GS pay scale. But all those comprise about 960, and that kind of ebbs and flows as recruitments go up and down, the guys are retiring and coming and going. The day-to-day, Monday through Friday, is usually about 330 full-time personnel to keep the mission going out there. This is, like I was saying, there's every single, I got a little glitch in my presentation here. Everything from maintenance guys working on the airplane, keeping the munitions on the rails, the fuel in the jet, the systems on the jet working correctly, the security forces personnel securing the base and keeping us all safe from the outside. And then we have our own fire department for crash and rescue, and they also help the civilian side of the base too for their aircraft emergencies and the buildings surrounding the airfield. And even the services, the guys helping putting meals in you guys' bellies so we can keep the mission going. That's the quick brief on Fresno and our mission here locally to help kind of spread the word on our involvement in the community. As you can kind of see, it is a small city, and then our community involvement is quite large with 960 salaries, all that going into the local community.